The dealers that we have come across, a lot of them have non-existent or underwhelming digital marketing that really doesn't serve their customers well.
It's unfortunate that 80 to 85% of general managers actually grew up on the variable side, like I did. And it's like, they don't really get the fixed side, but there's only 3 scenarios that exist out there, which we found a niche for.
Welcome to Retention Roadmap, navigating service success for new car dealerships. I'm honored to have with me today Charity Dunning, Chief Marketing Officer, and Russell Hill, Managing Partner and Co-founder of Fixed Ops Marketing. Their company pioneered automated, instantaneous, and impactful marketing solutions tailored for fixed operations. And in addition to being sought-after speakers at events like Digital Dealer and NADA, Charity and Russell also co-host the acclaimed podcast, What the Fixed Ops. Charity and Russell, welcome to the podcast. Thrilled to have you here.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, glad to be here, Bill. Let's tear it up, buddy.
Looking forward to it. Well, let's just jump right in. When you go into an engagement with a dealership and talking to dealers around the country, what are some of the most common mistakes or opportunities for improvement that you see specifically around fixed ops marketing and how dealers can improve their marketing of their fixed ops department? And I'll leave it up to either one of you to start that.
Yeah. Charity,
No,
okay,
this one's you.
All right. So, first of all, I mean, there's a huge paradigm shift going on in fixed operations. Okay, we're kind of reinventing. It's really amazing. Some people don't even understand what paradigm shift is. It's rules and regulations that establish the boundaries in which we live and do business by. And really, things are changing so much. Fixed operations is a huge focal point. But I mean, it needs to be completely reinvented, and that's what we've done since COVID. We're the speed of the pack is set by the leader. It all starts at the top and filters down. But make no mistakes, everything that we talk about, everything that we do on a daily basis revolves around one thing. That's our guest. Period. The end. That's it.
Yep.
It's about the experience. That's going to directly affect the same stuff that we've all been hearing for the last 30 years: repeat, referral, retention, and all the things to stop and fill and plug that hole so we can turn this thing around. There's so many different topics, but I think the first thing is when the guest drives across the threshold, why don't you smile and reach out and shake their hand and say, welcome, or maybe welcome back. My name is Russell and your name is, and then just start looking for things that you can find in common, because it's all about relationships. It's all about people. From there, we can really build. And I think that's what's going on right now, Bill.
Yeah. Charity, what about from your perspective as being, certainly having a wealth of experience and depth of experience with respect to marketing and marketing technology? How do you see that?
Well, I would say that the dealers that we have come across, a lot of them have non-existent or underwhelming digital marketing that really doesn't serve their customers well. And so this whole company is based on fixing that and bringing those dealers into the modern era. And instead of, just having these blank websites that don't do anything, or paper cutout coupons, which are very Stone Age. So we fixed that, and we've incorporated video and artificial intelligence, social media. And, I've done marketing for a really long time. I think I'm around the 20-year mark at this point. And it's a lot of work. Just having one client where you're managing the website and the social media and all of the different aspects, and we made it really simple. So really it's hands off, and it runs itself, and it actually works.
Yeah. What are you seeing in terms of shifting preferences amongst consumers of their communication preferences? I think we're all aware of the fact that younger folks prefer digital communications, and specifically texting. And folks with gray hair might not embrace that as much. But what are you seeing in terms of that transition with respect to communication preferences?
Oh, I think texting is huge, really huge. But I think, I'd like to elaborate a little bit on what Charity said.
Sure.
Because when we're talking about fixed operations, it all starts, most people end up on the website. That's where all 4 of the dealerships, profit centers are located, Bill. New and used and parts and service. It's unfortunate that 80 to 85% of general managers actually grew up on the variable side, like I did. I was a GM as well for many years. And it's like they don't really get the fixed side, but there's only three scenarios that exist out there, which we found a niche for. And that is either there's no offers, specials, or coupons at this time, check back later. Static images, 4 or 5, the customer can't do anything with. And the third one, which Charity alluded to, is the most common, a handful of coupons, specials, or offers. Some of them, I mean, I'm serious, they still have a pair of scissors representing cutting out a dotted line. So we wanted to take the shift and move fixed operations from the 20th century into the 21st century with, I mean, over 80% of all consumer consumption today is video based. They don't really understand all these nuances and all the things that we focus on, which I believe a heavy focus should be on, express service type stuff. But we have a conversion mechanism that engages the customer, whether they're 18 years old, to your point, or 80 years old, on how they want to be communicated with. Is it text? Is it email? Is it WhatsApp? Is it Google? I mean, whatever it is, you need to be able to meet the customer where they're at. I think that's paramount, imperative.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, you brought up the fact that about 85% of general managers have come up through the variable side. Just recently, I interviewed Jerry Romano, who's a dealer principal with Windward Auto Group in Hawaii, who is one of the few who has become a dealer principal, but came up through fixed operations and actually started out as a technician. And spent a lot of the time speaking with him about his success with marketing, and he really puts a lot of emphasis on fixed operations, and it shows in the results that he sees with respect to customer retention and customer loyalty for his brands. In today's environment, we have more data available to us than ever before, as does the dealership. How do you kind of, from your perspective, how do you help the dealership and fixed operations directors in particular kind of cut through the noise and get to the signal to find out what marketing initiatives are working effectively and maybe which ones aren't, and how to tweak that?
Jared, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, we do it in a number of ways, but really, you got to be careful with data. A lot of it is faked or fooled or twisted to meet the end goal. And what we did was we removed third-party aggregators, so we don't take responsibility for data that's come in through your paid ads unless it's something we did, or other avenues in which data comes in. We clock it just straight from our product, and then we give that data directly to the dealer. And so there's really nothing in between to muddle it up. And you can tell which offers are performing best, which ones are performing the least, and we can move things around to make it more effective that way. So if you want to add to that, Russell, go ahead.
Yeah, it's as Charity said. So I was recently talking to a dealer, and it was he made reference to just this point. He said, Russell, when I have a good month, I have 5 different vendors come out of the woodwork claiming credit for every VDP, SRP, every conversion, every RO, everything. And he said, what I like about your stuff is nobody can touch it. It's your data. It's only from what your stuff does and how it performs. And we track it. We know how somebody converted. All we track is CP, customer pay. We can, if they came in and an RO was opened and closed, and the only touch point was from that video offer and how they interacted with it, then we just serve that up. We don't claim credit for anything. We want all of you out there to focus on what you do best, because most of the stuff a lot of people don't really even understand.
Yeah.
So when I say that, they have to handle technicians, advisors, heat cases. It's a never-ending barrage, and there's a lot of great vendors out there. And one of the things that Cherry alluded to, a couple of things, is that we provide such a level of automation. It's not like set it and forget it, because no, there's a lot of vendors out there. We are not that. We are a vendor partner. So critical to the success and ongoing success is monthly check-in meetings with a live person that's actually assigned to the dealer's account. But to get them involved in Facebook and YouTube and X and Instagram and Google business profiles and who does what, I mean, it's not that they don't care, Bill. They're just busy.
Yeah, and it's
They're
overwhelming.
busy. Yeah, so these vendors that they've signed up for, and then 6 months later, the controller's going, "Hey, Bill, what's this 1,200? Oh, that doesn't work. Cancel it." Well, it does work, but it required somebody to do something on a daily or weekly basis at the dealership to ensure that the results were there, and they weren't because people are busy. Even our reporting is set up to be automated because, and most of them probably don't even look at it. But let me tell you what they like. They like the interaction with our performance managers because it's not a rotation. They actually build a relationship with these people. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I think more and more dealerships are recognizing, if they haven't already, the value that specific mission critical vendors bring to their dealership,
Indeed.
and especially in today's environment where it is so difficult to recruit and retain top notch talent, utilizing those mission critical vendors for everything from reporting back in terms of what's happening, but also just execution too can be a real benefit to the dealership.
Absolutely.
But I do, just to go back to your point about dealerships saying, well, how do I know that this marketing initiative brought this customer back? I think one of the promises of the advances in technology and specifically analytics and data analytics is that we're able to more and more effectively parse that out and understand that there's a difference between correlation and causation. Just because your customer came back in and they may or may not, have gotten, say, a direct mail piece, that's correlation. But the more and more that you can show how your product or service has caused as directly as possible that customer to come in, I think the more value it brings to the dealership, and the more that they understand how marketing can impact positively their customer retention and their overall success.
Yeah. For example, maybe if they have any offers, coupons, or specials, I say all three of those because some of them have a negative connotation, like, "Oh no, we don't do coupons because we don't want to. We got enough oil." Well, it's not about that,
Mhm.
and you don't. It's not even about price, not necessarily. As long as you're competitive, and we know that, but it's like when they come to the website, they're looking for something. And as a matter of fact, almost 30% of people that actually end up on a dealer's website are looking for service related information. They start out online Google, meeting the customer where they're at. If you go to their Facebook, a lot of people are really into Facebook now. You see great interaction, charities, community involvement with the public, happy customers, new and used vehicles, incentives, and all that kind of stuff. What do you see on Fixed Ops? How about nothing? Google Business Pro, how about nothing? How about all the other app? Nothing. There's no way to quantify any of that. They have no idea how that stuff kind of works. And I think this is part of the paradigm shift that Sherry and I are talking about. It's getting into the 21st century. People are looking for information. And Bill, I'm sure it's the same for you as it is for Cherry and I, and all of you out there. I call it the 3-click rule. Everybody's online. Everybody's online. And if you're not, by the third click, if you're not finding what you're looking for, exponentially think of it, the exit rates go up. The attention span is less than 5 seconds now. Are you kidding me? And you're going to cause people to click and click and click, and they can't find what they're looking for. Why don't you meet them where they're at? Serve up the right information, right content at the right time, and make it easy for them to engage. That's one of many, many ways.
Agreed. Agreed, totally. Charity, a question for you. When you look at some fixed ops marketing in general, are there, any new opportunities that you see coming down the pike that excite you because of the impact that it can have on dealerships and their business?
I would say probably AI is going to be the next big opportunity that we see. That's not only going to revolutionize sort of how we use the tools in the dealership, but also how us as vendors are building our solutions and making them more effective in the modern age. So I don't know what that looks like quite yet, but it's going to be fun to watch and fun to find out.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I heard someone put it recently that, AI isn't going to take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI and leverage it appropriately will. So
Yeah.
I think
That's
it's
right.
just another tool in our toolbox that's going to have to
That's right.
be used appropriately and effectively, just like any other. If you go back however many decades and say, well, if you had somebody who said, well, I don't want to learn how to use email or use a computer, well, your career is going to be pretty
Right.
short lived unless you're embracing
Right.
technology and figuring out how to use it. kind of raising the kind of perspective on fixed ops to, by 10,000 feet or so. What are some of the trends or changes that are in addition to what we've already talked about that are getting your attention, that you think perhaps maybe dealers should be paying closer attention to? For example, I'll give you an example, such as mobile service is getting a lot of attention these days.
There's a dear friend of mine, you may know him as well, Ed Roberts at Bozard Ford in Lincoln. And I met his mobile service guru, Jeremy Stevens. Phenomenal guy. I think they have almost 49 mobile uh, vehicles. And it makes a huge impact. That level of convenience is really important to people. And yeah, there's a lot of things you need to consider doing it. It's not probably for everybody, but it's another way to meet the customer where they're at. And it's amazing what Cherry and I have heard from Jeremy and the encounters with the consumers as they go to their establishments or houses, etc. It is huge, and the things that they can actually do now is it's almost like a gallon of milk at Walmart. Let's just say it costs $2.50. Okay. And then you think, oh, there's a convenience store right down the street and the gallon of milk is $5. And most people think, well, I'm just going to go to Walmart. It's cheaper. No, it's more. Well, why is it more? Well, first of all, a Walmart is not just right down the road and back. They're logistically about 20 minutes away, wherever you happen to live. That's how they do it. Where do you think the milk is? Dairy products. They're all the way to the back. Do you think you're getting out of there with a gallon of milk or $100 bill? Which one? And then you get out to your car and a cart has dinged your door and you get home and it's 45 minutes later. You can go to the convenience store down the street in 3 to 5 minutes and be back, pay the $5, and you really that's much more. That's why it's called convenience stores. This is really convenient for customers. It's like I said, it's not for everybody. Some people prefer to come in. I don't know why, but I mean, you think about it, you're driving by 16 non-franchise entities to get to your establishment. This is a way to start to offset and pull some of those lost customers, mostly because of tires. And we'll probably hopefully get into that a little bit. But mobile service is extremely huge. I'll pay for it, and they don't even really question it. They don't even really question it. And these customers just love the what we've. You would need Jeremy on here to really talk about. It is a plus process.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that it can play a crucial role, especially for dealerships who are having issues with service department capacity and their appointment
Yep.
times are getting spread out. I think it can really assist in those particular situations. Charity, any thoughts from your perspective?
Well, I think dealerships have had a rough reputation for quite a long time, and we're really turning a corner there. They're finding different tools to use that simplify that process and train their team to greet the customer, ask them their name, relate to the customer, observe about the customer, whether they have a kid seat in the car or what kind of stickers are on the vehicle so they can relate and really create a relationship now. So it's more becoming a relationship experience rather than, a sort of a mandatory, I have to go get a car or fix my car type of experience. So I don't think we've turned the curve all the way, but there's a lot of dealerships doing a great job in that
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah, I
Right on,
agree with
Jerry.
you. I think there's a lot of them who have been successful in really turning the corner from, especially on scheduled maintenance and oil changes and tires for that matter, from being um, competing as a commodity to competing on that relationship, customer experience, value add, and that type of thing. So in the just a couple of minutes we have left, I would love to get your thoughts in terms of
Couple of
tires.
minutes.
I know,
That's it.
I
Oh
know.
my
We
gosh.
could go on for hours. I would like to get your thoughts just briefly in terms of tires, because it is what we have found is so important with respect to retaining that customer. And it's one of those defection points that even customers who describe themselves as extremely loyal to the dealership often defect and go to a tire store for no other reason than they don't realize, surprising as that is, that the dealership sells tires. We'd love to get your thoughts in terms of what you're seeing along those lines.
Sure, do you have any thoughts? Because
You go for
I'm
it, Russell.
okay. Let me just say this. There's many defection points that, first of all, people every day are coming into your stores and are buying new and used vehicles. Okay. And they automatically defect because they don't even live around there. So they're taking their vehicle elsewhere, first thing. And if it's really true, depending on who I'm talking to, that 7 out of 10 of those customers that are coming in during the warranty period defect by the time they get to the end, the single largest contributing factor, there's two: tires and oil changes, and there's a few others, but tires. I'm going to elaborate on tires. If there is 16 non-franchise entities that they're driving by to get to your dealership, that's Firestone, Goodyear, Valvoline, Pep Boys, Discount. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And most of them sell tires. Well, we've trained our customers over the last 25 or 30 years that we just can't compete with those people, which is why they're everywhere now. Well, what do you mean by that? We get our tires from the same place, and yes, we can, or actually be more competitive. We get that now, post COVID. We get that now. And everybody I talk to is actually into the tire game. Okay. But the customers don't know that.
Right.
We've sent them packing to all these non franchise entities. So here's what's going on: the single largest purchase they're going to make during the warranty period are tires, and they better be buying them from you. If they buy tires from you, these are the latest numbers that I have. 67% of those people continue to service and buy a newer pre-owned vehicle. It's like, okay, it's a no-brainer. But if they don't, and I got to tell you, I'm going to use Discount Tire. They do phenomenal. There's 1,600 of those franchises, and they do great at tires, rims, and wiper blades. That's where it ends. Nobody's better equipped to handle any and all major repairs, recommended service intervals, etc., than the franchise dealership. But if I'm a customer and I go to one of those places like Pep Boys or Goodyear, whatever, what do you think they're talking to him about? Here's what they're talking to him about: we can do the brakes, we
Sure.
can do the fluid exchanges, we can do the rotation balance, and we can do all that stuff. And it's like, oh wow, it's so refreshing.
Right.
It's like, oh, but dealers are starting to get it now,
Yeah.
but they don't know what I just said.
Yeah.
I use that in my talking points a lot with people that are really interested in moving the needle. Both Charity and I do, and this is a huge focal point. They said, "Oh, I've never really heard that
Right.
quite put that way." So
Yeah. Charity, any thoughts from your end?
Well, the one thought I had is, we can conquer tires, we can get that business back. And then, the topic of EV has been very heavy
yes,
lately, not knowing, is it going to be a good thing or a bad thing? But, even if we do get, a lot of EVs on the road and a lot of EVs coming into the dealership, they're definitely going to need tires.
Yep.
They go through tires like crazy. So, the sooner you can embrace tires, the better it'll be for all the vehicles.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely,
I would agree. I couldn't agree more. And I think the primary challenge there is not price, but awareness. It's
that's
just
right.
bringing more awareness of the dealership's tire capabilities to all of their customers. And if there was one piece of advice or one recommendation I have to dealers is it's that you cannot over communicate to your customer base about tires. It's a
Right. It is.
repetitive message. It needs to get across time and time again, because you never know when that customer is going to have an issue with a tire and has an unplanned repair and needs to replace them. And certainly when it's time to replace a set of tires based upon mileage, we want to make sure that that dealership is the first choice. Before I let you go, just one question for each of you. What piece of advice would you give yourself if you were starting out in the service business today?
Oh,
You go first, Russell.
yeah. It's all about the relationship. That's what it's really all about. And what I'm and that does really start at the top. It really does. But something I'd like to add to that, unless we could go another hour and a half or 2 hours, Bill. What I'd like to add to that, there's transparency is crucial from the time they drive across the threshold to video MPIs. Instead of you telling them they need something, they have no clue because of the trust factor. These are all things that are really important today. And then the last thing is whatever the advisor is talking or communicating with you on recommended services that maybe you don't need now, but to be conscious of it, and maybe stuff that you do need now from a video MPI needs to be done with every single vehicle, bar none. And then there's companies, I want to say like Drive Sure. There's companies out there that have products that help with the retention in many, many different ways. And there's other companies out there that do a plethora of different things. But I mean, you guys have been in business a long time. You deliver results, you back it, and these are critical components that I think every dealership needs to be looking at.
Yeah.
But I think this: if you want happy customer, I don't want. If you want happy guests, you have happy employees. Okay, and if you're not taking care of your employees, I'll wager that you're probably not taking care of your guests either.
Yeah. Well, thank you for those kind words. And yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Charity, what about you? Any piece of advice you'd give yourself if you were starting out today?
We have a very similar question that we ask on our
Oh, yeah.
podcast. It's a little different, but I would say work hard and learn as many of the positions as possible and really embrace the technology. And the reason I say that is, I can't tell you how many stories we've heard of people, struggling in life or really screwing up life and then getting into this business and rising through the ranks to the point where they're dealer principals or GMs. And I mean, there's so much opportunity in this business that I don't even know if the general public is really aware of it, but I'm aware of it, and that's the advice I'd give myself.
Super. Well, thank you.
Yeah, when Charity, I gotta say something. When Charity said we asked a similar question, and I've been asked too. We're right, it's different. Russell, if you could go back and tell your 18-year-old self something, what would that one thing be? Well, I wouldn't tell. There would be nothing I tell my 18-year-old self. You see, I knew it all at 18, so I wouldn't listen to anybody like me coming back to tell me what the pitfalls are and what I should be looking out for.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have fun with that question. It's
Yeah.
really interesting. Some of the
Yeah.
answers you get.
Well, I think your comment about it's all about the relationship really resonates with me because you don't have to have all the answers. The thing is to have good questions. And by asking good questions of people who've been there before, it allows you to stand on the shoulders of giants and see what's ahead rather than trying to
Yes.
figure it out yourself.
Absolutely.
So, Russell and Charity, thank you so much for joining us. You've given us so many great things to think about, and really appreciate you coming on board.
Bill,
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, Bill, thank you. And everybody out there, listen, all the success for your podcast. It's getting a lot of attention. Just keep going and going and going. So many people start and stop, and it's all about just keep doing it because it's going to be extremely successful. And we're going to help contribute to that any way we can.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill.
You've been listening to Retention Roadmap, Navigating Service Success for New Car Dealerships. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.